I'm going to show you how to do some FactoryTalk runtime security. It's pretty straightforward. It's simple. As long as you don't have to migrate a project from an older view, it's real easy. First thing you want to do is, all I've done is created a new project. Straightforward, nothing in it. See, I got a main screen on there. That's all you get usually when you start out with. You need to introduce some users to your system in order for you to be able to do this. So if you come over to your window pane here, drop down System, you get into Users and Group. If you open up Users, you'll see I've already added a few here. What you do is right click, hit New, FactoryTalk User, call this a username, let's say a test user. If you want a password for the user, you can use a password, hit OK. So you'd go in here and you'd add all your users in. As you can see, that added that user to the list. Once all the users are in the list, then you come up to your runtime security, open that up. You'll notice that'll pop up a window. Automatically, there'll be a default user. This is the user that's automatically logged in. There's always somebody logged in. If you log out and there's no credentials, or if you have an auto log out, it generally goes back to this default account. So we generally set this up as our operator account, and we'll take away any of the privileges that we don't want the operator to be able to get into. In this case, I'll just take away the first four here. There's usually never a password for the default account, so you just hit accept, and you can see that changed, and it puts an N here for no credential. Now, once you get down to 2 here, you want to add some more in. If you click add user, if you hit show users only, then your users will show up. We're going to add our test user in here. You'll see test user pops in. We're going to give test user credentials all the way through C. Let's take this A and B off. Then we're going to hit accept. We're going to add another user in here. So once again, we'll do the same thing. Go back to show users. Let's put a setup user in here. And this guy, we're going to let him get everything. This will demonstrate the difference of security codes as well. Now, once I get him in here, you can see he's got everything. Test is all good except for A and B, and default doesn't get A, B, C, or D. I leave these all yes, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get that deep into the security, but you can have all the way up to P for levels. Alright, so once you have all this set up, you're going to X this out. It'll ask you if you want to save, hit yes. So now you have some users set up and some security credentials. To use it, first thing you're going to need for sure is, I believe it's under user management. It's going to be a login button. So as long as you got a login button, you can get to the users. I'll just throw a label on here quick. That's really all we need for this guy. What this will do is pop up FactoryTalk's login dialog and allow the user to log in. Now, to demonstrate the differences in security, what we're going to do is drop a couple buttons on here. So I could be just grabbing them from up here, really. There's all kinds of ways to do it. So throw a button in here. We're not going to name anything. I'm going to go really quickly through this. So we'll just put button. Actually, we'll name it what the credentials should be for them to be able to be seen. That's how I'm going to show you what these do. Apply. And that's all we're going to do is add 3 buttons. We'll call this the test button for the test user. Alright, so once you have your objects, like I said, I'm not going to address these anything because for what we're doing, I don't need to demonstrate these. Now we have a login button to get the dialog up. We have users associated to the FactoryTalk system, and we have runtime security effect with security codes put into place for what the users are actually going to be able to do. Now, how do I associate that so that the users are either A, able to get into something permissibly, or locked out? What we want to do is right click on the object that you want to interact with. let me change this one as well quick so we can see that what we're dealing with when we get to running this here. So this button here, I won't put any security on. When I run this application, this button should be visible at all times. This button I only want to be visible if the user has security code A, which would be the highest security code available in my sense. It doesn't matter which way you do it, and you can do it in any order you want, but I always work from A to B with A being your highest. So to get this to interact, we're going to use up some animation. What I did is I right clicked on the setup button and I'm going to animation. I'm going to hit visibility. Once the visibility box pops up, you'll see you can have this expression window here where you have a couple of different things here. Tags will bring up the tag browser so that you can get into the tags you have associated with the document. An expression will let you write exactly that, an expression. In this case, I'm going to use the expression statement, get into the expression window because there's quick function keys and bitwise, all this stuff's already right in there. I can just click on it. In our case, we're looking for security. So I want to hit functions, and the function is going to be a security function. And what we want to know is what code does the security have. So we're going to say, what does the user have? What code? So we'll select that one and put that in. You'll notice it puts in the statement, current user has code, and then parentheses. Inside the parentheses is where you state what code the user must have at least or have to get into this object, or in our case, see the object. We're going to say A on this one. So what this is going to say is the current user must have security code A, clearance, in order for this button to be visible. You can do it either way, invisible, and change it however you want to do it. But for demonstrations, this is the easiest, quick, straightforward. Hit apply. Now this button when we run won't come up until I log in with credentials that have security code A. So if I go to the next button, you'll see that that disappears. Now we're on the animation for this object. Nice thing about FactoryTalk is I can go back here. There's a couple ways to do this. I can highlight it and hit Control C, come back over here and hit Control V, or let me get rid of this. They're going to ask me if I want to apply, and I'm going to say no. You can also right click on this and hit Copy Animation and paste animation on whatever object, and if you look at this when we go into it, you'll see that that animation now exists there. The difference is this animation I don't want visible unless the user has security code C. And you'll notice that if I log in with setup, since I had setup have everything, this will pop up as well. So as you can see, when we run this now, we'll see how these buttons interact. Go up here, hit test application. We'll save this page. We'll let Alan Bradley do its thing. Wait for this ME station to start up. Now as you can see, these don't exist. They're not even there. The user wouldn't see them. The reason you're seeing an error here is because I don't have it addressed anywhere. Don't pay any attention to that. It's going to be the same here when we pop these up, but we know this was our test button and this was our setup button. So now when the user comes in, I'm default. The only thing I can see is anything that has, the credentials I'm allowed to. Want to log in, that'll pop up the login box. Now if the user only has a touch screen, they would hit this, which would pop up a keyboard here. If I escape out of that. If you have a keyboard attached to the system, you can just type into it. In our case, our first user was test. Now you see I logged into test, now this is available. Our last user that had all the credentials was setup. And now you see I can get into this. So now if you there's other options you can set up, such as auto log out. Um, come into project settings here in activity timers and runtime. You can do not enable auto log out, tell it how many minutes. That way, if a user's logged in, what will happen is it'll log them out back into that default account, and then you can have them return to a specific screen in your application. That's pretty much user runtime security in a bundle. There's really nothing to it. As you can see, I made no communication settings whatsoever. It's all completely on board. You can handle it through macros. You can send communications back and forth. The difference there is instead of using the animation where the current user has a security code, when the current user would log in, you can see in this runtime security, there's a place that you can do a login macro, and then you can actually write a code and stick it down here in the macros where, when such and such happens, this fires or whatever, and that's how you can actually communicate security back and forth as well. Any other questions, feel free to comment.